6, 7 years to actually build and actually cut that ribbon, and open those doors and put a roof over folks' head. So we're having those discussions that hopefully will have an impact, not just in my district, but in all of our districts, looking for different models that provide value as well as volume. Also with us today, we have Mr. Daniel Kim from Senocor, as well as Mr. Ray Kant from Senocor too. I just want to welcome all four of you, but in particular our guests who've come all the way from South Korea, engage in the homelessness crisis as well as affordability crisis in the city of LA. God knows we're open to every model that can build housing as quickly as possible for the lowest price point to bring value to the people of the city of LA. Mr. President, thank you very much for this opportunity. Let's give a warm welcome to our friends all the way from South Korea.
Thank you so much, Mr. De Leon, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Correct. So item number 9
So
is
I'm just going to general public.
Okay.
Right, you're out of there, right?
So you have one more. We have 1 minute for general public.
Okay, general public comment. Okay, there is a beautiful 25-year-old at the library. She's a librarian named Journey. And I tried to get all the people I know to read the NATO scientist Matrix Deciphered. I couldn't get anyone interested in the CIA. Don't you want to know what the CIA is hurting us? No, they could care less. Most Americans, it's not real to them. Journey read the whole 196 pages. She also read The Religious Woman Pittman. And she was going to write a review for the summer reading program at Downtown Library. That's what they have. And then I had to tell her, guess what, Journey? This is dangerous. You could be hurt. And then I realized I have people dying around me all the time. How can I accept this beautiful young woman's help? And matter of fact, the CIA is killing people. And I intend to keep coming back. Killing people. No one believes me. Killing all my friends.
Speaker, your time has expired. Good morning. Which items would you like to speak to?
Item 13. I read the items. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I support housing. General public comment. I didn't know you were going to do general public comment and items at the same time. We need to get rid of that building. Nothing but problems in that building. Either get a new buyer or just demolish it. That's what I say. Demolish it.
My name is Maribel Fajardo, and I work at the LA Gram. I'm the housekeeper for 25 years there. We just want you to please help us. It's not easy working as at the LA Ground with the homeless. There's a lot of stuff going on there. The rooms are horrible. We have to even work mentally to help them too, in order for us to be safe in that hotel. And actually there's a lot of any disease, we could get raped. There's so much stuff that nobody help us. We've been striking for 8 months to hear for us, at least to hear the way we're working there is not easy. And please, we beg you to help us. Thank you.
Oh, move me to general public comment. That's what this is about. Where was all these people to talk about having an African American get dressed up as a KKK Grand Wizard? Never in the whole history of the whole country. Even in the Deep South during Lester Maddox and George Wallace years, they never had anybody go to a public meeting and have an African American get dressed up in a KKK Grand Wizard. What the fuck is going on? Where were all the people to say, that's wrong? Nobody said anything. Everybody stayed away. Why was people staying away? You have people living in South Central for 50 years, and nobody showed up. Marquise, why didn't you show up? Where was Mr. Price? Where were you, Miss Hutt? You weren't here? You like the KKK? You like the comeback of the KKK? You ruined the
Mr.
legacy
Sass, your
of
time has
Rosa
expired.
Parks.
Next speaker. Mr. Sachs, I need you to vacate the podium. This is your only formal warning. You are disrupting this meeting by not vacating the podium.
What the fuck's going on?
Maribel Fajardo.
What the hell's
Rebecca
going
Becerra.
on there, Mark?
Oh,
Ronald-
just 1 minute. Sorry, go ahead.
Maribel Fajardo, Rebecca Becerra, Ronald Anderson, Rosa Hernandez.
Good morning. Which items would you like to speak to?
Yes, good morning, Pumpkinhead. All the fucking items and general fucking comment.
So, as a reminder to everyone, the items that are open for public comment are 13 through 17 and 19 through 20. Items 13 through 17 and item 19 are REAP items. So please begin. You have 3 minutes for the items and
what
1
happened
minute
to
for general
fucking
public
18?
comment.
Oh,
Item
that-
number 18 was continued for 2 weeks.
That's because Heather pulled a sneaky one on you. Oh, well, all right. Good morning, Buckethead. Thank you for walking in front of me. Now we have item number 12. Fuck item number 12. Who the fuck needs item number 12 from Staffer B? Isn't it a shame that Jose Weezer is going to spend his last Valentine's Day and Staffer B gets to spend all of them he wants free?
So, Mr. Spindler,
So
this is your
fuck
only
number
warning. This
item.
is not on the
Well,
agenda.
asshole.
Stick to the agenda,
Well, you
or I'm going to
dumb
move you to general public comment.
You dumb son of a bitch. I'm tying it in. You won't let me do it. So item number 14, CD8, Marchese, Sleazy Marchese on number 14. Yes. And he is the definition of a scrub. So we vote no because he ain't getting none. He runs around the ghetto in an electric car. Then number 15, another disgrace of the black community, the indicted one, Curran DeMille Price Jr., still indicted and getting paid. Let's give him a hand. Hey, I want to know the secret. Yes, wouldn't it be nice if all black men in America could get indicted and still keep their salary and
So,
benefits?
Mr. Spindler, I have warned you already. You have
Yes.
been off topic
Well,
for
what's
another 15
wrong?
seconds.
What's wrong, my
I'm
little
moving you to
Asian
general
buddy?
public
Huh?
comment. You are on
What
general
the
public
fuck
comment.
Is wrong,
You have
huh?
1 minute.
Get back on topic.
What the fuck is wrong, huh? You know? What the fuck is the problem, huh? I tell the fucking truth. What's wrong? You can't tell the truth? Huh? Look at this fucking meeting. You got De Leon up there with the lady up here, and he can apologize. You fucking sit there like, no, I don't know about that, right? And then I talk about you got fucking guy indicted, and he's on this council spending taxpayer money. But I got to get fucked out of my fucking time because I fucking mentioned the fucking fact. And that's the reason why you're going to get all these people going to call in and they're just going to say, fuck you, right? I mean, let's have an honest debate. Let's just say it. A lot of you hate white people. Repeat after me. I hate white people. That's not. I hate
So, Mr.
white.
Spindler, your time has expired.
That's your
Mr.
time.
Spindler, that's your
Please
time.
take your seat
this is
and
your
do so
only
in silence.
formal warning. You are disrupting this meeting by not leaving the podium. So please leave the podium. You are stopping us from moving on to the next speaker.
Mr. Spindler, you're excused from this meeting. Sergeants, please escort Mr. Spindler out of the meeting.
So again, Mr. Spindler, the president has asked you to leave this meeting pursuant to Rule 7 and Rule 12. You were given multiple warnings to stay on topic and also to please politely and quietly leave the podium, which you refused to do so. You are still refusing to leave this meeting and comply with the lawful order. I'm sorry, Speaker. Give us just a few minutes. And for everybody who's listening, just to be clear, as explained extensively during the rules, when you are speaking to the agenda items, you must be on topic. Mr. Spindler was given an opportunity to use his 60 seconds for general public comment after being warned multiple times for being off topic during the agenda items.
And Mr. Spindler continues to disrupt the meeting as he's exiting. He's
Oh, buenos días.
What we have going on is the laws are too lenient on these people. I believe that they should have like when they get picked up, they should have like a 3-year jail time as far as so they can spend the night there but go out and clean the city, clean and hard labor like that. In order to get the graffiti off the walls, clean up the city, make everything look good like that. The way it is written now, it entices these people to go out and smash and grab the goods out of the merchants, and in doing so, a lot of merchants are losing their business, and the way it has $950 is not good because these people run in packs like of 8 or 30 people, and $930 doesn't it ends up being pretty in depth in the amount of money. I'm thinking that we need to change
Speaker,
that.
your time has expired.
Spanish, please. I got
course.
a little Patricio. Yo trabajo en el LA de Los Ángeles. Esperamos en el hotel, esperamos nosotros que nos ayuden a cumplir nuestras metas de seguir trabajando.
I work at the LA hotel. We are hoping that you can help us so we can accomplish our goals to continue working.
Porque acabando de el contrato, ¿qué vamos a hacer nosotros? A mi edad ya no me pueden dar trabajo.
Because after the contract finishes, what are we going to do? At my age, I cannot get another job.
Lo que necesitamos es una ayuda de ustedes que nos ayuden a firmar el contrato del hotel.
What we need is from you that you help us so we can sign that contract from the hotel.
Si no, ¿en dónde vamos a estar? En la calle, como muchas personas que están. Tenemos familia. Ayúdenos, por favor.
If not, where are we going to end up? On the streets like many other people? Like, we need your help. We have family. Please help us.
Gracias por todo, por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Now we'll go to phones where we have 5 callers on the line.
Well, I'm going to, sir, thank you, and I appreciate it. I'm going to go straight to public comment.
Okay, so you have 1 minute.
One of the things, as I was telling you, is Ms. Shirley Weber, she's an inspiration. Her presentation should be shown to all those people who are robbing and committing crimes in our streets. She truly, truly is an inspiration. And Mr. Price, if you hang around with people like that, I will never judge you until the courts judge you. In regards to what's been happening up on Reseda, again, last night I watched as 2 cars flew by me. One of them ended up crashing. I called 911. Of course, I'm a snitch. You know what? When somebody endangers my life and anybody else's, you better believe. He's lucky I didn't kick his ass. I mean, the thing is that you folks, the city council, the previous one, and you folks continue to allow these things to happen up on Reseda because you guys changed the laws as far as parking. Why don't you guys fix something for once? Why don't you finally do something to make this city safer? And like Ms. Weber, I am a product of this city, and I'm not going to surrender this city to crime. Thank you.
I just wanted to support items 11 and 12 regarding the wire theft, metal theft in general. Our city is currently being stripped for parts, whether it's copper wire and lighting, plaques throughout the city, statues. I appreciate KDL, Councilwoman Park and Lee for putting this forward, and I would like to see it expanded. We cannot continue to allow our city to be stripped for parts. Please expand this with the LAPD task force. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, council members. I would like to say that what Mayor Karen Bass is a public servant who needs to be in the city council chambers to listen to concerns and complaints that the constituents have. So far, she's not, which is totally shame. Another thing I'd like to ask Mr. Marquise Harris Dawson, Can you respond to the complaints that your constituents have? The most frequent complaints that I've been hearing is that the black community does not have representation. And the other part that I hear is that you have a $10 million luxury office, and there's a gentleman who's claiming that you took over the black community's unemployment office. Can you respond to that? Thank you.
Mr. President, colleagues, I don't think there's anyone around the horseshoe that hasn't been impacted by the rapidly growing problem of the theft of copper wire in the city of Los Angeles. We have witnessed this issue escalate at a very alarming rate. Just 5 years ago, we were dealing with 500 to 600 cases of copper wire theft each year. In the past fiscal year, that number skyrocketed to a staggering 6,842 cases, with repair costs exceeding well over $20 million. Despite tripling the amount of funding we are putting toward copper wire theft, something that I spearheaded when I was on the Budget Committee, the theft, quite frankly, has not stopped. Nothing has revealed more than the extent to which criminals will go than the brazen theft of copper wire from our very own 6th Street Bridge. For the 7 miles of copper wire that was stolen off the bridge, the thieves received a street value of $11,000. However, the estimated cost to taxpayers will exceed $2.5 million to repair the bridge and bring the lights back on. The driving force behind the surge is the insatiable demand for copper, a valuable metal in the market. Thieves are literally, as the speaker just called in, just said a few moments ago, picking our city for parts to sell for scraps. Let's be clear, because they're stealing from each and every one of you and your constituents throughout the city of LA. Our neighborhoods, our parks, and our streets are bearing the brunt of this menace. In my district alone, thousands of lights are out. The Bureau of Street Lighting has identified 3,738 inoperable lights just in the Bowl Heights, in the Lincoln Heights, and parts of El Sereno. And this is only about half of CD14. Just this immediate past weekend, copper wire was stolen from the city warehouse that's right by down the LA River in Bowl Heights that knocked out their entire fire alarm system. Just this morning, Verizon emailed my staff to inform them that fiber optic cable has been ripped out of the ground, putting internet access in communities of color at risk. Make no mistake, this is a public safety issue. Residents raising their kids now live in fear of the darkness that engulfs our streets. The task force and the reward program, and I thank you very much, Ms. Park, for collaborating, cooperating, and coming together from the west side and the east side to deal with this issue. The task force and the reward program before us are about the very real threats to the well-being of communities which we were all elected to represent. The motion is also about our civic pride. When folks come from all over the country and all over the world, they see a lot of Los Angeles in complete darkness. Today, we have an opportunity to tackle the crisis head-on and to send an unequivocal message that our city infrastructure is not for sale. With that, colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
I really just wanted to rise to say thank you to Councilmember De Leon for putting forward these initiatives, which are just additional tools in the arsenal that we need to combat the scourge of copper wire theft across the city. This is a problem that is impacting every neighborhood and compromising our infrastructure and costing taxpayers tens of millions of dollars every year in repairs and overtime. And worse, this is actually putting lives at risk, from disabled traffic signals at intersections and rail crossing to streets and sidewalks that are poorly lit. It's also a stain on our city's reputation when our iconic structures like the 6th Street Bridge become a punchline across the country and on social media. Angelenos are fed up with this, and the criminals that do this need to be held accountable. I want to thank our Bureau of Street Lighting, who's out there working tirelessly to keep our lights on and to address these thefts as they happen, as well as our police department, who is working hard with our metal recyclers and other businesses to ensure that they are not trafficking in stolen copper. To every Angelino out there, if you see a theft or you're aware of these issues, please report it so that we have the data to inform our response. Thank you. I ask for your aye vote.
Colleagues, we know that copper wire theft is an issue throughout the city. I think we've heard from the comments and our colleagues that it's not only impacting our lights, but it's impacting other structures, internet, placards, and things like that. But moving to this reward system misses critical steps in understanding the root of this problem and how we can resolve the core issue, keeping our streets well lit and accessible to the public. We know that streetlights are effective and relatively inexpensive, an inexpensive way to invest in the safety of our communities. Rather than expend city efforts and resources on a reward program that does not intervene until after the damage is done and focuses on punitive measures, why aren't we looking into how we can prevent this cycle altogether? Our colleagues have put forward motions asking for reports on the feasibility of installing solar-powered lighting, which would eliminate the problem of copper wire theft altogether in our street lighting system. This is just one example of how we can invest in solutions that stop the cycles of damage, because we just fixed that bridge. What's to stop more people from going back to it? What's to stop people from going back to these other locations where they have already done this? I don't know if you all know how a lot of the infrastructure is built, but it's built so that we can access it to fix it. And that's why people are getting access to it. We really have to work on the prevention piece. And I know that the prevention piece, a lot of it is expensive because we would be switching over to a solar system. But at some point, we got to put the horse before the cart. Because right now we keep putting the cart before the horse and we keep tripping and spending our very, very valuable resources in just whack-a-moling all and trying to fix all these streetlights. We're not catching up. So I would just hope that we can start working more on the preventative piece, listen to the Bureau of Street Lighting and see the solutions that they have forward and the cost that is associated, and just to begin to put a plan together to start tackling that, because I just can't imagine that we're going to be able to catch up with the amount of damage that is already occurring. And there's significant number of streetlights in our district that are severely impacted, that are impacting our communities, but we just cannot continue to keep up. It's like playing whack-a-mole. So again, colleagues, I hope that we can explore solutions like the ones that my colleagues have brought up of transferring our system to a solar power system rather than spinning our wheels with interventions that don't actually address the root cause of the problem and just have us spending our money on solutions that are Band-Aids. Thank you.
This is sadly a long-standing issue that we have been grappling with as a city for a very, very long time. We've watched the deterioration, not just in the damaging and the theft of our infrastructure, but to Mr. De Leon's amendments, even recently, bronze plaques, our historic street lights, you name it, they're taking it. So yes, I think we need a reward system to incent people to turn these individuals in, just like we needed the city attorney to make sure that they're cracking down. That's why we announced the effort to demand that there were guardrails in place that for the individuals that are showing up with miles of copper wire to trade in, to cash in, that we were having the documentation that actually ensured that these criminals couldn't cash in on their theft at tremendous taxpayer expense. We need to have accountability here. And so, you know, we can talk about solar, and we've been introducing a number of locations in that, with that effort. I mean, we've been talking about copper wire theft even preceding me being on the Board of Public Works and working with street lighting on a number of task forces that we've done in the city. But I will also want to share and impart some information of what the city is doing in hardening these targets and making sure that that we're not just allowing the repairs to not have the hardening and the protections that make it even more difficult for people to break in and steal this copper wire in the future. So that is the additional expense that we bear the burden of and taxpayers are experiencing. Not to mention the fact that yes, the replacement of copper wire, but the incredible labor and, frankly, because of our overextended city staff, the necessary contractors that we need to help restore that. We are paying tenfold for what it would otherwise cost. And so those are just some of the additional burdens and fiscal impacts that we are all suffering from as a result of these copper wire thefts. But one thing is clear, criminal is a criminal, and we need to have accountability in this. We can't make it easier for them to continue to break into these systems, steal the copper wire, cash it in, and by the way, create a bigger public safety threat because our neighborhoods are dark, because that is what's been happening as a result of this as well, and we can't ignore those factors. So, you know, this is unfortunately a longstanding issue, but I really would like to know from the city attorney's perspective how effective their efforts have been and whether or not we've been garnering any progress on making sure that those individuals that seek to cash in on their theft are being prevented or obstructed in our work that we laid the groundwork on so many months ago. Because these are the legal protections that we have, or some of the tools that we have in order to help, you know, get some ground on this. And so I thank you for your continued work. You know, this is a collective effort on this council where everyone has continued to try and come with solutions on it. The reality is the fiscal impacts and the public safety threats that it creates in neighborhoods is very real. And we continue to suffer the consequences of it, but there needs to be consequences to the individuals committing these crimes. Thank you.
I would just add to, I think, what Councilmember Rodriguez just said, that it's not just the individuals committing this crime that we need to be concerned about. And when we get this report back on a reward program, I hope that much of the focus will be on those unscrupulous purchasers of stolen metal who are the real source of this problem. And to Councilmember Hernandez's point about prevention, the way we prevent this crime from occurring is by preventing its profitability. Because right now, this is a form of organized crime. And the people who are stripping wire and, you know, taking it into metal dealers are at the bottom of a hierarchy of organized crime. And the purchasers of that wire, the purchasers of the grave markers of veterans, the purchasers of hacksawed statues made out of metal, are absolutely fully knowledgeable of their own criminal culpability. They're absolutely knowledgeable of the fact that the metal that they're purchasing is stolen because it could come from nowhere else other than theft. And yet, those unscrupulous metal dealers are not being prosecuted and are not being identified. So I hope that when we come back and have a deeper discussion about the reward motion, the priority needs to be on dealers. And that's why and thank you for mentioning the city attorney's effort, that I joined with the city attorney in ensuring that every metal dealer in the city of Los Angeles was notified that this city intends to take this crime seriously, and that violations of state law that requires identification, that requires a photograph of the materials that are being purchased, and all of the other things that the state law currently provides, we put every metal dealer in the city of Los Angeles on notice that that law will be enforced. You know, whether or not that's having an impact is an issue that we're going to have to grapple with. And the truth is, the Los Angeles Police Department used to have a metal theft task force. There used to be an assigned task force that could investigate these crimes, that could identify the upstream purchasers of metal. We used to have that. We no longer have that. And unless there is and this should not be a city issue, this should be a regional issue where the city and the county and the CHP and Metro and other government agencies come together to identify where is all of this metal going in the region. Because just because a wire is stolen off of the 6th Street Bridge doesn't mean that it's going to be sold to somebody near the 6th Street Bridge. It could be somebody, a metal dealer in Vernon or someplace else that's entirely outside of the reach of our jurisdiction. So we have to take this seriously as a regional matter that is putting lives at risk. The millions of dollars that the taxpayers of Los Angeles are expending because of this crime is bad enough. But the truth is that lives are at risk because of this crime. I serve on the Metro board, on the Metrolink board, and I'm telling you, train signals are being shut down because of metal theft, putting at risk a train full of people. And all for the benefit of 20 or 30 bucks worth of copper. This is absolutely intolerable in any society. We cannot let this continue, and we have to take the preventive measures that Councilmember Hernandez said, and we've talked until we're blue in the face with street lighting in particular to try to get them to implement more hardening of the targets. For sure, we have done all of that. But we need to do much more on the enforcement front, particularly upstream with the absolute intolerable situation of people who know that they're committing felonies by purchasing this metal, and they're getting away with it, and we can't allow that to go forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCosker.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. I did have some news to share. Like all of you, I've had my share of theft in our district. We had horrific plaque theft, plaques at our Merchant Marines Memorial, heartbreaking, our memorial to the ILWU workers, and the memorials to our fishing industry families, and on Terminal Island, the memorial to the Japanese village, where we had a vibrant village and folks were interned. There is a bit of, I'll say, positive news. Yesterday afternoon, Port Police on a routine traffic stop pulled over a driver and two folks, and in their thorough review came across plaques in their possession, including a plaque from Long Beach of a memorial marker for a Roman Catholic priest off of his grave site. Further investigation indicates that these are suspects in the marker thefts throughout my district. Those three folks were booked and arraigned, or were booked, and Port Police are asking us if anyone has information, because through suspects we can go up the chain and we can find out where the dozens and dozens of plaques stolen throughout my district have gone. Folks can call Port Detectives at 310-732-3500. And we would ask folks to reach out to Port Detectives for the Port Police on any information that can assist here. There is a bit of good news, and we need to stay on this. We need to make sure that we are going up the chain and finding out who the worst criminals are among bad guys. Those are the folks buying these materials, knowing what it is, and melting it down and seeing the names of folks who have come and gone be melted down and turning that into money. So thank you.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mean, I think we should be doing whatever we can. When Councilman Krikorian said this is a public safety issue, it absolutely is. And one point in my district, not in over a year span, but at one moment in time, I had like 700 streetlights out. So, you know, we mentioned about doing, more than just a reward. We should be doing everything. We should be going after the people buying it. We should be going, trying to build preventative measures. Talk about solar lighting. We are doing that. We are testing it. It's expensive. But every time we spend money to fix one of these lights, every time that we try to chase after this problem, that is money spent that we can't use in other areas. When I have to put discretionary funding towards preventative measures in literally burying down the boxes so they can't have access to it, because we've tried concrete, we've tried steel encasing them, they find a way to get to them. So colleagues, I urge you and urge everyone we should be doing whatever, whether it's rewards, whether it's the task force that we created last week on looking at how this theft is affecting us as a city. I mean, we're not reporting the crimes that are happening to our own city facilities. We've had over millions of dollars in catalytic converter theft of our city vehicles. That's money that could be going to helping other programs in the city of Los Angeles. So whatever it is, whether it's this reward program or anything, I am in full support of, because as the chair of Public Works, I see all the different issues that come to my district. Lights that used to take us a week to replace are now taking 7, 8, 9 months at some point. This is an issue that we need to throw everything at and to look at every solution at. So I urge an aye vote on this.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Thank you so much, Council President. I wasn't going to speak to this item, but the conversation sort of pushed me into this. I want to just remind everybody that the folks that are out there stealing the copper wire, stealing the catalytic converters, they were once children in elementary school and middle school, and I guarantee you they didn't wake up every single day and said, I'm going to be a copper wire theft person. I'm going to be out there stealing catalytic converters. Nobody. And I guarantee you the folks that are doing these things, they're not from our most affluent neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles, not from Porter Ranch, not from Bel Air. These are people who are poor. These are poor people doing acts of desperation, acts that push them into that situation. And I remember when I was a young kid, we were so poor that we would drive down the streets of Skid Row in downtown looking for cardboard, because we would tear that cardboard and we would sell it to make some money. So, we can continue to play whack-a-mole and say, let's criminalize catalytic converters, let's criminalize copper. And you know what? 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, we're going to be like, let's criminalize X, Y, and Z. But no, because nobody is trying to get to the root cause of this. Everybody wants to just pretend like we're not dealing with issues of poverty, that we're not dealing with our capitalist system that is just like literally keeping people at the edges of desperation. So if we want to be smart legislators and really be intelligent, then we got to talk about the issue, the root cause of what's causing this. And so I think that's where my colleague, Councilmember Hernandez, is trying to push us to look at this to a different lens. It's not just about getting rewards and criminalizing, and I get that. That's probably part of the solution, but at the end of the day, it's not going to solve the issue. And so we have to look about how we think about it in a much more preventive way. And we talk about prevention in so many different ways. We talk about keeping people indoors instead of being homeless, because you know what? It's also more cost effective to keep people indoors than to keep them homeless. Well, I beg to implore you that it's probably cheaper to invest into young people's futures than having to deal with a system of criminalization that really just gets us nowhere. And so, it's not often we have these discussions, but I feel sort of compelled to say it because I think it's incumbent on us to be, have a little more sense. Not be fueled by these next door posts that sometimes move us. Let's think about really how we create good government. And so I supported this in public safety, but seeing where this conversation is going, I'm gonna be voting no on this, because I think we're not truly having an honest conversation about how we govern the city of Los Angeles correctly. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Padilla.
I also wasn't planning to talk today about this topic, but I think, I think I should, because like your districts, my district too has been fallen victim to a lot of these thefts as well. A lot of my freeway underpaths, completely dark, streets, dark. There isn't a utility box that you haven't seen opened and then scavengered inside. But I think we need to collectively think bigger. because I don't think anybody on this horseshoe is wrong. I think we definitely need to continue to have a conversation about how we invest in better infrastructure to make sure that we protect the materials that are, putting together and holding up our infrastructure and our public, works, amenities that service all of us. But the more and more I hear about this, I agree that these are individuals that are maybe doing this because it's a way of making funds, because they're individuals that have lived lives within the world of poverty. If you've been formerly incarcerated, it's hard to get a job, right? If you have ever fallen into the use of substance abuse and haven't been able to get yourself cleared from that, you fall into poverty. You fall into these sort of small petty crimes to fund either your addiction or your lifestyle. But here's the thing, I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't think these are just individuals that are trying to break one box and get $30 to fund their addiction. This is really high, sophisticated, smart, clever, organized crime. They are doing it in broad daylight. They're wearing the costumes. They obviously have the tools to get into places that some of us would have never been able to imagine someone would have the interest to go in there and commit a crime in broad daylight. This reminds me of the one book that dictated the conversation of international relations when I was in college. Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Wow.
Everything related to steel and all sorts of metal are very important commodities in the international space. I think we need to go bigger. So I hope that I agree that we need to go regional, but I also think we need to really stop just saying that these are the impoverished criminals trying to fund their addiction, because it's obviously bigger than that. To sit down and plan and have a whole game plan related to stealing copper wire, for example, at the 6th Street Bridge, you're not a low-level criminal. So I'm going to vote yes on this, but I hope that we can continue to have conversations about how we address it from a preventative side, on the infrastructure side, but also how to make sure that those individuals that are probably having a hard time finding a job don't fall into this sort of lifestyle. Because if a corporation and a good paying job isn't recruiting individuals, the streets will always be there to recruit them. And I think that that's what's happening, and it just happens to be that they're winning.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I really want to say that I think we're all in agreement that we want accountability for when damage happens to our city infrastructure, people's personal property, literally placards on people's stones. That's horrific. So I think that we're all in agreement with that. We want accountability. And colleagues, I've also been around the table with you all when we are literally talking about the budget for the next 5 years and how we will be in deficits, how the Bureau of Street Lighting Department is one of the departments with the highest vacancy rates, how I'm having to tell my constituents that it's going to take 10 years to fix your sidewalk if it even gets on the list. These are the different things that our city is failing right now. And if I got to choose whether I'm going to put my $1 on a program that does this, or if I got to put my $1 on hopefully preventing something that happens, and even trying to be more innovative and cutting edge into trying to prevent that, I'm going to put my dollar in prevention. But I agree with what everybody is saying, and I do think it is definitely bigger than it's a spectrum, right? I spoke with LAPD when the catalytic converter piece came up to ask questions, to learn what was happening. They told me that it ranged from people who were college students that they would catch to people who were part of big organized groups that were taking trailers full of catalytic converters down south. They weren't even melting them down here. So when we talk about this issue, and we talk about particularly copper wire and metal theft and our budget for the next several years, the conditions and infrastructure of our city, I am pushing back because I want us to stop wasting our money. That's why I'm talking about this. We all want accountability, 100%. But if I gotta choose where I'm gonna put my money, I really want us to try to look into stopping the harm from happening in the first place. And we don't do that enough, and we're gonna keep spinning our wheels, and I bet we'll be back in a few years because we will never have caught up. Because history repeats itself. Have we not learned? So I just wanna say that we all agree, and I just hope we can continue to, when opportunities for prevention come up, that we also invest in the same way that we're investing in moving money into rewards. Because I agree, that also helps bring in information. I do not disagree with that. I just, understanding what the budget's going to look like for the next 4 years, I'm just concerned. Thank you.
Councilmember Lee.
I agree with you, but we would have more money for programs in the city if we weren't spending, if we were not having all of these, having to deal with all these streetlights being out. The people that were pulled over in a recent crime of the bronze placards, they were driving was it late or early model Tahoe when they were pulled over. They were not out pulling out cardboard boxes. This is organized crime. These are things that I don't want to have to spend money on having to bury my streetlight infrastructure so that my district can be well lit up and be a part of public safety, issues that we're dealing with. I want to use that money. I want to use those discretionary funds to help my youth centers. I want to be able to use that to help support my community. I think in the city of Los Angeles, we're dealing with a huge problem, and when we look at budget issues, that is part of the problem. The theft, that is part of the problem of where we can spend that money. When we talk about, everything, we forget about the victims. Sometimes the victims of these thefts, whether it be copper wire, whether it be catalytic converters. No one talks about the person that doesn't have a car for 3 or 4 months, that's their only car that their family has, and their ability to earn money because that's taken away from them. We focus on, society on this person committing the crime and not the victim anymore. I don't understand why we should not be looking at every single thing at our disposal, whether it's offering a reward. We're not offering, if it's a reward that someone's turned in and helps us catch somebody that saves the city tens and tens of thousands of dollars, absolutely, we should be doing everything we can. We need more money in the budget to support these programs to help our communities, but we can't do it because we are spending so much funding on playing catch-up on all these different crimes that are being committed not only against our individual districts, but our entire city itself. So again, colleagues, I urge anything dealing with issues like this, that we support this and that we move forward in trying to make sure that our city remains as safe as possible and that we do have the funds to be able to support the many wonderful programs that we do here in the city of Los Angeles.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you. And just to echo what Mr. Lee said, I just wanted to clarify that a reward is just an incentive to help garner the information that we need so that we can effectively prosecute. And it's another deterrent, a preventative measure that would perhaps net us, again, the hopes of people not pursuing this type of crime. And so it's not like we're taking like $1 million or $10 million and saying that this is dedicated and we can't touch it. This is a reward motion. The way reward motions work is it's an incentive to say for information where we can prosecute these individuals that are committing these crimes. So we're not actually losing anything here. We're not giving up anything. And I want to make sure that everyone's really clear and understands how this all works, because we're not committing any amount of money. We're trying to create an additional incentive, another tool in our toolbox, along with the prosecution efforts or the preventative measures that we want to take with the identification efforts for those that are selling these items, the whole gamut. The hardening of the sites that where we had copper wire theft and it's been restored, we are hardening those things. We are deploying everything at this, so that we can, in fact, deter future copper wire theft, so that we can, in fact, not have to continue to pay for the restoration of streetlights at tremendous expense to taxpayers, but more importantly, so that we can actually have more money to fund the very programs that we're all committed to fund in the city of Los Angeles. So I just wanted to be clear, because it didn't seem like that part of the information about what a reward offers was being lost on this conversation. So again, this is just another incentive, another tool that we can use to try and incent people not committing these crimes, to have more eyes in the public right of way. In fact, it was members of the public in my community in Shadow Hills that were instrumental in actually capturing copper wire theft in the progress of it happening, and reported it to LAPD, and they arrested these individuals. So again, it's another tool. It's effective. It actually does work. And, you know, the goal is to make sure that we can do everything that we can to prevent this going forward. And colleagues, I ask for your aye vote.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you, Council President. The last thing I'll say is really, again, about the budget, and to the comments around the budget, around the expense that it has on our city taxpayers to fix these issues. It is expensive. It is expensive on the tax dollars to fix these issues. And that's in addition to us not being able to put more money into the things that they need, because we put nearly a quarter of our budget into one department, because we just approved $1 billion in raises for one department. And so when we think about this reward system, I also think about the staff time. I also think about the departments that had to administer the project, because that is feeding off of our budget that then leaves us not being able to fund the things that we so desperately need. So if we're going to talk about budget, if we're going to talk about things being expensive over one or the other, then I would love to see analysis from the CLA on that, because I wonder what it does look like for us to compare the cost of what we're expending here versus what the actual cost is to the damage, because I'm sure that we're still paying way more than what we're getting for preventing here. So just thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hernandez. I want to thank everybody for a very rich and invigorating discussion. I actually agree with everything, almost everything everyone said on the topic. Both of the hardening of the targets, there's stretches in my district where I feel like we're just supplying new copper to the thief, because we've replaced the copper 3 times. And right after we replace it, it gets taken again. And also on Sunday, this past Sunday, just coincidentally really, I was at a church right at the point near your old neighborhood, Mr. Soto Martinez, right at where the 15th, the 8th, and the 9th kind of meet. I was at a church there that took me around to the front of the building to show me where a bronze plaque had been stolen. Now that plaque has been there. It's one of the oldest black churches in the city. That plaque has been there through the Great Depression, through segregation, through the crack cocaine epidemic, through the various economic downturns we've had, and suddenly within the last few weeks, this bronze plaque in front of this church in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city, and the neighborhood's been poor. Like, it's been poor the entire time. Nobody took this plaque, and you know, the deacon at the church is saying, like, it never even occurred to us that we needed to look out for this plaque. It was here when we were all born. And so I do think we have a mutation of petty theft that we need to look at, and look at in a serious and deep way. And so I want to thank folks who brought this discussion and this item before us. And we'll close with Councilmember De Leon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and colleagues. I enjoyed the robust conversation, and I know there's some diversity of opinion on this issue. Let me just rest assured for those who will dissent through their vote today, this is not criminalizing this act because it's already a crime. It's already a crime. We're not criminalizing the act. I can appreciate the perspective very much, 100%, where some of our colleagues have come from. I understand and I respect it, 100%. But it's not criminalizing. We're not creating a new ordinance because it's already a crime. The reward is a carrot. That's what it is. Is it the panacea? Of course not. is not the panacea. But specifically with regards to the task force is not exclusive. It's actually inclusive and compatible to many of the ideas that were discussed around this horseshoe. So there's a lot of ideas in terms of preventative measures with regards to preventative measures. I want to address that also too for the councilwoman from City 1. So that's the point of the task force is working with Bureau of Street Lighting, other stakeholders, along with LAPD to deal with this holistically in a comprehensive manner that doesn't go out of the way to the point of having the perception of criminalizing folks for these types of acts. Parque Mexico, as just mentioned. Parque Mexico historically has been in City 1. Parque Mexico now is in City 14. It was very embarrassing for me to have Mexican officials from Jalisco, Durango, Coahuila, Sinaloa, Sonora, Baja California come up in a recent trip. Official Mexican officials and the Assistant Secretary of Culture from Mexico City. And they came to Parque Mexico, and all of the busts of revolutionary leaders, historical Mexican figures, all stolen. All of them. And I was in a position where I had to admit, I'm representing not just City 14 and Parque Mexico. In a way, at that moment in time, I was representing all of us. And I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to say, and we're going to work something out where hopefully they will step up and provide un escudo, the emblem of their respective states in bronze, and how do we figure out how do we provide more security through cameras. But Parque Mexico is a very historic, beautiful park, and we want to elevate it to a different level for it's a sense of pride for all of us. But this is a serious issue, and we have many areas, and I don't think so much so in Bel Air, or the Palisades, but in impoverished neighborhoods, whether it's in South LA or whether it's in East LA, whether it's in MacArthur Park, Pico Union, many areas that we all collectively represent. Those areas are being most impacted. Y son las señoras who doesn't want to walk down the street to buy, a jar of coffee because it's completely dark. It's the mother, the single mother who's afraid of that strolling her baby and has to leave the park by sundown because all the infrastructure has been wiped out. These are very sophisticated criminal organizations. In some cases, utilize even our unhoused neighbors to do the dirty work for them, pay them pennies on the dollar. They go to the recycling center, and the recycling center, we know, they turn a blind eye. They know exactly what they're doing. So the idea of the task force is to come up with all kinds of different ideas, because many folks made excellent points. Bureau of Street Lighting sees a light that's out or lights. Constituents complain to us. We pick up the phone. We complain to Bureau of Street Lighting. Bureau of Street Lighting goes out there. They repair it. And these elements are just waiting outside because once the lights turn on, it's like an automatic ATM machine. Then they go back and they steal the copper wire again, and they do it again and again. And we know that's not working. We know that's not working. Actually, I learned a lot of things because I was a little upset with the Bureau of Street Lighting. I was thinking, why can't you reinforce it, have stronger bolts or screws of some sort? Because that's what I thought originally. They were coming with some special instrument, tool, wrench, and just opening up the panels. They're coming with handheld electric saws. They're cutting right into the metal, pulling out all of the wire. And some of it is being done in open sites. Contractors or folks who are actually posing as contractors are putting on vests, they're putting on a helmet, a hat, and they're putting cones, and none of us would suspect it, not even LAPD, and they're stealing all the wire right in front of us. It's just ultimately at the end of the day, it's about safety, thinking about innovative, creative ideas, and lastly, I'll just say to my colleagues who will dissent through their vote today, the task force is open for ideas that you may have, that you want to move forward, that's preventative, that's proactive, if you will, so we can get to the bottom of this, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you so much. All right, so these items are before us, items number 11 and 12. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 2 noes.
All right, what's next?